bananas. Booty, booty, booty. All right, we're good.
Unique New York. The Human Torch was lent a bank loan. Audrey! Look at me! Look at me, Audrey!
I put on my fancy outfit.
I know, you're looking sharp as fuck. I'm looking like I went on a hike.
Well, I figured I was doing Sinatra, so I should get fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
It's hard for me to read. I can't read with my
I can't read very good.
bifocals from that far.
That far.
Well, welcome to Life's Greatest Hits. I'm Jason Earle.
And I am Jordan Foley.
Here's how it goes. We do a vinyl swap each month where we lend each other a physical copy of an album from our personal collections, particularly one the other guy hasn't heard or doesn't know that well. We spend the entire month listening to the album physically, do our research, jot down our thoughts, and then get together to discuss the record. The conversation could go anywhere, but we'll mainly be focusing on what we think of the album, any takeaways of what we learned, and where the listening ultimately took us. We'll give each other half the time of the episode to talk about the albums we were given and go from there. Buddy, here we are.
We are here, episode 3.
Episode 3. Man.
It's exciting, Jason Earle.
It's very exciting,
yeah, man.
Jordan Foley. And I'm especially fired up about this one because the more I thought about it, the more commonalities there are between these records. And I'm really excited to talk about that.
That's exciting.
So before we do that, everybody, this is a creative collaboration between us.
That's right.
But we each have our own creative gigs. So what you got going on?
What do I have going on? Well, I just went on tour last week with Kyle Keller, our good friend, singer-songwriter, and fossil hunter, Wild Kyle, out in Gainesville, Florida. We hit the road last week. We went up through, played a handful of shows here in Florida, Mount Dora, Orlando, up through Jax Beach. Played at the Blue Jay Listening Room with Thomas Wynn.
Oh, yeah.
From Thomas Wynn and the Believers, and Harbor Wynn, who's they're friends of ours, he and his wife, Hannah. Highly recommend you check out their music if you haven't. Mm-hmm. We went up there, played at the Blue Jay Listening Room, and it's always such a beautiful, beautiful venue, beautiful experience. It's very impactful as an artist when the audience is literally there to listen to your every word, even if it might be too much word and a little less song. Like
Yeah.
we should probably sing more, but it's so fun to like engage with, your fellow artists on the stage and whatnot. But that was pretty much the whole premise of the tour was going on the road and playing in various places together. Kyle and I have been playing songs, and we're on the same record label, and he's one of my best friends for 8 years now. And it's something that we really looked forward to finally doing, hitting up the southeast region beyond Florida. So from Jax Beach, we went up to Southern Pines, North Carolina, which is this very small, quiet town about an hour outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. And we played at a very old theater called the Sunrise Theater with our friend Jonathan Robinson, who is one hell of a blues guitarist, and he also is a singer-songwriter and had some beautiful tunes, and he played with us up on stage in front of about 40 to 50 people, I think.
Wow.
And man, we could spend the whole entire episode talking about how performing in front of folks who don't know you or you're going into their town, like that's such a surreal moment. Kyle and I had a beautiful time doing that. And then we went on to Knoxville, Tennessee the next night, played with our mutual friend Matt Woods at a beer market. Got rained on, which is always fun, having to protect all of your gear and your guitar and your try to stay dry. That was an experience.
Yeah.
So there's that, but we got to play a little bit. And then the next day we went over to WDVX's Blue Plate Special, which is a historical folk venue that live streams your music and also puts you on the radio. People, around Knoxville, they get to hear your music, and it was a very awesome experience. And it was Kyle's first time there. It was my first time doing Blue Plate. The band and I did Big Plate Special last year. So, man, it was just awesome. And then, unfortunately, with the storm hitting, the hurricane came. Such a difficult time for everybody, especially in that area. That region really got hit. Kyle and I had to cut our tour short. We were supposed to go to Nashville next, and play a show there that we booked by my friend Zach Meadows, who's a singer-songwriter out of Nashville. Shout out to Zach. And it just didn't work out. We knew that if we were going to play this show and stay in Nashville, then we might not make it home for a while. We might be stuck there, whether we have to pay for a hotel or anything like that. So that was just it was a bit of a challenge. So we decided to try to fight the storm or get home ahead of the storm, and we did. Thankfully, it wasn't the best travel experience, but Kyle and I made it worth it and had fun and. Just really enjoyed each other's company. We worked on some new tunes together, which was really cool. Just writing some stuff and just having a good time. Kyle is such a bright and energetic human being with such intelligence, and he's so easy to talk to and so lovable. So
yeah, he is.
Shout out to Kyle. The Truck Around and Find Out tour turned into the Jeep Around and Find Out tour because Kyle's truck died the day that we were supposed to hit the road. Yeah. So there's that. So, just a couple obstacles here and there. But it was worth giving the rundown because, I tours in general, they're all a tour. Everything can kind of go to shit on the road.
Sure.
That's just a typical thing. But there was something about this tour and this particular trip that just kind of really stood out to me. So, I think I'm still a little lagged from it as well, just trying to keep up and catch up. And here I am now, recording with you, episode 3. Just very happy to be here. Ultimately, I don't have much else going on. I'm working on new music with the band still. My EP came out a couple weeks ago, so still pushing Leave Your Messages.
Go listen, y'all. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks, man. Just trying to do the thing. If you listen to music on Spotify, it goes a long way if you just hit play. That's a new slogan I've coined. It doesn't take, or what did I just say?
You said it goes a long way. You just
goes a long way to just hit play. Man, I'm gonna fucking t-shirt idea right there, dude. So there's that.
Tens of t-shirts.
Yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out, and then I will hand it on over to you. Mariah, my fiance, is performing here in the Central Florida area in this Victorian horror theater troupe called Phantasmagoria.
She's so cool.
I know. And Mariah sings. She's a beautiful singer. So I want to give a shout out to Mariah. Shout out to Phantasmagoria. If you are in anywhere around the Central Florida area, they are playing all over. In particular, next week they will be performing at the Dr. Phillips Center. I also have an extra ticket on Saturday night, and I wanted to extend the invite to you.
Oh, so I accept the invite.
I'm more than welcome to join me.
This is a surprise,
what a
everybody.
moment.
This is not...
We're best buds, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that next week. So, again, if you're in the Central Florida area, go check out Phantasmagoria.
That's my shit right
there.
there.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
So that's it. How about you, man?
Dude, well, before I talk about me, like I do like the idea of us doing a bite-sized podcast episode about the tour. I think that'd be a lot of fun. We bring Kyle into it,
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun.
But yeah, man,
I got some stories.
Just so much cool stuff going on with the Marinade.
Yeah,
my main creative gig, y'all, is the Marinade with Jason Earle podcast. That's my main podcast or my main creative outlet, I should say. And I got to the point, and this will kind of lead us into our discussion, or a little bit of our discussion, I think.
Okay.
I got to a point where I just had so much going on that I was just like, I got to take a break, man. And we've talked about creative capital before. I don't know if we've talked about it on this show, but the idea of like, you're putting so much out there emotionally, and there's so much of you that goes into your creative work. And when you don't have much of you to give, I just don't want to do the creative work if I'm not going to do it at the highest level.
It lacks a little.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of lacking there when that happens.
Yeah. So as to not risk that, I took 2 weeks off from the Marinade.
Yeah. It's needed, man.
It was good.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So last night I recorded with Greg Kreindler.
Yeah.
This incredible artist, just like paints baseball scenes.
Oh, nice.
And these like classic baseball scenes. He brings the history of baseball to life.
So cool.
It's so cool.
It's cool that you interview multiple avenues of art.
It's been my goal from the beginning, right?
Yeah,
to make sure that I'm connecting with artists of all kinds. And, I'm not a visual artist at all, but I appreciate it a great deal. And he couldn't have been cooler. It was awesome. The coolest. I wanted to do this so bad that I stayed up till 10:30 finishing this episode last night, which for folks listening, you probably know I'm a middle school teacher. 10:30 at night, y'all, that is dedication.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we didn't start till 9:30. We actually went till a little bit later than that. But
what a nightcap.
Yeah, it was cool, man. But then I was all amped up, so I couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
But we got some other cool things. Daryl Hance and I are going to sit down. Daryl Hance, the original guitar player from Mofro, who is also an incredible songwriter and he plays guitar like nobody else.
Hell yeah, man. Such
a cool signature to me, like the way he plays. Casey Anderson, who just released a new record today, which is fantastic. He is going to make his fourth appearance on the show.
Wow.
Casey's been on a couple of times, so really good friend of the Marinade. And then there's a band out of Kentucky called Wayne Graham.
Okay.
And I got to get your ears on
you do.
On
it
Wayne
sounds
Graham.
like somebody, just the name alone makes me feel like I need to know this person.
Yeah, well, it's two dudes that call themselves Wayne Graham. Yeah.
So nice.
Really, really cool.
You can understand, like, it sounds like a solid singer-songwriter named Wayne Graham.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
And I wonder
Wayne
if that's
Graham.
part of the bit. I don't know. But,
might be.
It's like if you would, I guess you could classify it as kind of like folky or whatever, Americana. But there's some really cool indie rock sort of sounds that come along with it, and it's one of those records that's very hard to categorize, which are often my favorites, right?
Yeah, those are great.
But that makes me think. I don't want to bring the party down too much, but we were talking about the storm today. I just noticed that Drew Morgan, the comedian, who is just such a wonderful friend of the Marinade also. And
me. He has talked to me, Drew.
Awesome.
Drew's a cool dude.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah. I don't know if we're friends, but he knows
well,
of
me.
He followed me where I was like, damn.
Yeah. We don't call each other on the phone.
Sure.
But he's just a sweetheart. Just an absolute sweetheart.
Such a nice dude.
I've actually met Drew in person at Bonnaroo right before Kendrick Lamar played. So
Bonnaroo.
Yeah, it was so much fun. But he's a sweetie and just a kind soul. Anyway, he's just very invested in Appalachia and making sure that he is spreading the word about working class people there and the struggles that folks are going through and promoting the culture. And he inspires me in a lot of ways. But he posted on his Instagram today ways that people can donate, and I trust Drew. Like if he says this is an organization that's going to do good work, so if you can swing it, y'all, and you've been thinking, hey, what the fuck can I do from afar? I know that next week I am going to make sure that I donate, in whatever I can, you know. But no pressure for anybody. But if you can swing it, I just wanted to plug that real quick because folks are hurting, and I know that a lot of my friends are.
Absolutely, and I could add another one. I had heard that the You Got Gold shows, tributing to John Prine, their annual that the Hello in There Foundation puts together in Nashville. They posted recently that they all the proceeds that they're earning are going to the same relief. So
amazing.
Definitely not. There are people struggling out there. Houses decimated here in Florida, all the way up through the southeastern region, up to North Carolina, it blows my mind. Hitting up Jonathan Robinson after tour and just checking in on him to make sure that he's okay. Like, thank goodness they were, and all is well, because like we just connected with them, and it was such a beautiful little town. Like I said, that my heart goes out to everybody. So if there's any way you can help folks out, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Also, real quick.
Yeah.
You gave me a recommendation on here, so I feel like I need to give you one too.
Okay, cool.
Trey Pendley.
Okay.
Trey Pendley.
Okay.
I've just been digging his tunes lately, man.
Cool.
And he's super talented. So
cool.
Big shout out to Trey Pendley. Yeah, go give him a listen. I think
awesome.
you'll dig it. Yeah. Let's roll.
Let's do it, baby.
Yeah, that was a good intro.
So Jordan's going to go first, and I gave Jordan Erika Wennerstrom's Sweet Unknown.
Yeah.
What'd
Erika
you think?
Wennerstrom. So I will say I remember listening to this album. Came out in 2018.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to this album for the first time when it came out, but I didn't I only picked a couple favorites and then didn't.
Yeah.
I listen to we both listen to a lot of albums. So you kind of take away these days, very rarely does an album grab your full attention from start to finish. Let's just get that out in the open. It's not always easy to make that happen, especially with avid music listeners. But I remember listening to this. I've been a Heartless Bastards fan for a handful of years. So just a little backstory on that. You know, I really, really enjoy Heartless Bastards' attitude in their music, their demeanor, their strength. Erika is such a powerful band leader. I love the timbre in her voice. She has such a strong, unique power to her voice. So it was really cool to dive in further into an original, a solo project that, you know, it ventured a little bit further away from Heartless Bastards. And there are still elements where it sounds, there's a similar sound to it, you know, but this was clearly a unified album from start to finish. There were a lot of, and I'll just be quite honest, there were a lot of positive and some negative takeaways for me. So I'm not going to, you know, I will have the audience know now, I'm not a negative critic. So I do not mean to, I refuse to bash an album. Yeah. I will make it clear this is nowhere near that, where I'm like, oh, this is shit. Like, this is a great album in the sense of it unifies from start to finish. It feels very much elemental, thematic, subjective in the music from start to finish. So there's that. Structurally sound. Every song has this like continued flow and vibe that ebbs and flows into the whole thing from the beginning to the end. And I think that has a lot to do with, again, Erika's songwriting and her voice. Those are her two powerful tools. She is an amazing songwriter. Yeah. There are some very powerful lyrics, especially ones that are positive and hopeful. So there was something about this album that felt hopeful, where it's like there's a brighter light at the end of the tunnel kind of demeanor, like attitude. And you could tell just by hearing this album that was the angle that Erika was going towards, is trying to be making a positive impact. Whereas maybe Heartless Bastards, you know, they talk about some gritty stuff. They sing about gritty, you know, they have gritty music out there. Yeah. So this was maybe, just from my perspective, maybe this was her way of being like, well, I have this other side. And as an artist, for me, I totally get that, because again, I have my band, and we play heavier side of Southern rock and Americana. And then I have my solo stuff, which is more acoustic and more, it's different, you know. It could blend well, but it doesn't mean that they fit each other. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was straddling with, was like, is this, you know, like, if I didn't know that this was an Erika Wennerstrom solo project, would I just think, oh, that's Heartless Bastards? If I hear that song out in public and I hear her voice, typically I would be like, oh, that's Heartless Bastards. So it took me a little bit to like dive further into that element of like, is this, you know, where is she going with that? So there were a lot of those factors. Then I listened to your episode on the Marinade with Erika. I did listen to some of it before, because sometimes, you know, I tend to jump into your episodes here and there, like, and then I'm not able to finish it, or like I need to go back to it. I remember listening to some of this on a plane one time around that era. Yeah. Cool. I love listening to podcasts on planes. So that's a thing. So yeah, and she's so proud of her music, and she's so proud of the work she had done, and you were so excited to talk with her. I could tell that the album really made an impact on you, and it you could tell it really meant a lot to be able to sit and talk with her. I love the moment where Patterson Hood is just walking by and jumping in the shower, like in the restroom, right, or whatever, and you were just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, Patterson Hood, the drive-by trucker, just takes a shower while we're
so that was fun. That made me crack up.
It was a cool moment.
Yeah. So there's that, and there were a handful of songs that I am a big fan of. Twisted Highway. That's my number one off the album.
Yeah, it's one that kicks off the record.
Sure. Be Good to Yourself. Yeah. Very good song.
Yeah.
And then Good to Be Alone. So those are my favorites of the entire album. I think the best way to go about this is just my teacher. I used to, as a teacher, if I would ever give criticisms or anything, I would be like positive,
sure.
negative, positive.
Yeah, the hamburger method.
Yeah. Or whatever. So those are my big positive takeaways.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing for me. you know, I and also just to be clear to you, you know, with you and with the audience, whoever's listening, I listen to music based off of whatever I'm feeling in the moment.
Sure.
And sometimes I'm sure that so many people feel that same way. So for me, sometimes I'm just not in the mood to hear that kind of music, or maybe I need something different. So kind of going back to this whole tour, Kyle and I got home late to Gainesville last Wednesday night, and didn't get to his place till 2:30 a.m. So we were exhausted, driving all day. We performed a whole set at Blue Plate. We were just super tired. I decided to, you know, there was no way I was going to drive home after 2:30 a.m. That's like a couple hour drive, so I just wasn't going to do it. So I crashed at Kyle's house, woke up first thing in the morning, and I just hit the road. And because this episode was coming up, I was like, I need to listen to this again and again. Like, I need to dive into it more. And I just didn't connect with it on the way home.
Interesting.
You know, it felt like there was the songs were a little longer. I felt like they could have ended a little sooner. I felt like I felt like there were some like musical moments where it was just, you're just feeling the vibe, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
There's no like ripping solo.
Yeah.
There's no like cool transition.
Yeah.
I feel like such an asshole saying that, but it was just like listening to it. I was just like,
this is great.
I was just like, okay, where are we going with this? And then it just went back to the chorus, or went back to the oohs and the ahs. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what I like to call them, the la-di-das and the oohs and the ahs.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. And I think maybe just the mixture, the concoction of first thing in the morning, drinking a cup of McDonald's coffee as you're driving home from Gainesville, Florida, after being on the road, and listening to this album, then just maybe didn't resonate with me the way that I thought it would. Because I will tell you, when I listened to the album on vinyl, the couple times that I did before then, I dug it. So I was like, all right, cool. But I didn't like sit and listen to it. Like, I heard it. I was like, I felt the emotion. I got it. And then that third listen on the way home from Gainesville, I was just like, I don't know what it was. They all sound. It's kind of, remember last time you talked about Zach Bryan, like some of his songs, they sound similar to each other.
Yeah.
So some of these did feel like it was like another version of the last song I just heard. So while I can always appreciate like a full blown from start to finish project where this is the focus, this is how it's going to sound, that's cool. For me, I was just like, okay, next song. And I hate doing that. Yeah. I want to listen to the very end of the song. So there is that. Ultimately, it's tough because, again, I felt like Erika was chasing something. She was chasing something that was different than what she was doing with Heartless Bastards, and obviously they were taking a breather and doing their thing. And I'm sure that takes a toll on somebody. And when you're writing music and you want to try to branch out or do something differently, you're taking a risk. You're taking a big risk on making the music that you're proud of, and also seeing if people are going to like it. It wasn't an album that I didn't like. If I had to categorize the three albums, since this is episode 3, this would not be at the top. But that doesn't mean it's at the way bottom either. You know, there's a lot of just trashy music out there. So this falls nowhere near that. This is strong Americana. I love the indie, the positivity of feeling independent, feeling like you can, be your own person and be powerful. And I'm sure it speaks volumes to Erika's fans, and I hope it reaches others too, because I can tell that it impacts, and I can tell that it went a long way with folks, especially you too.
Yeah.
So
it really landed with me. Yeah.
Yeah. So why'd you choose this one?
Well, I chose it. I think there's 2 reasons. One was very conscious, and one I think was subconscious that I'm excited to get into because it leads us into our conversation about Frank Sinatra's and Wee Small Hours. The conscious decision was her voice is unlike anyone's, and you have such a unique voice, and I thought you would be able to connect with the singer, Erika Wennerstrom, the voice, right? The way that she sings. It sounds like you did.
I did.
It sounds like that was the
I did
part
big time
of the record. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because that was
good job.
That was that was my big thing with this record was that. Now, here's what's interesting about this record is I listened to it again today. This record comes out in 2018. In 2018, this is so fucking crazy that it's all happening like this. I bought my house with my ex in 2018. We had been together for several years. At that point, 5 years. We were like becoming real domestic partners. We were settling into our lives together, right?
Yeah.
This record's a breakup record. She wrote this record after getting out of a 9-year relationship.
I picked up on that.
And she went and did ayahuasca.
Yeah, you talked about that in the episode.
Yeah, and kind of
listen to that episode.
Thank you.
Folks, go listen to that episode. Even if it's
a
handful of years ago.
Yeah, it's a good one. And at the time, I was going through what I felt like was the opposite, right? I'm like settling down. I'm really like molding with my partner. We're building this life together. We just bought this house, my first house, her first house, buying. And so I'm wondering, like, also if my subconscious, as I look back on our relationship, if my subconscious kind of like, I don't know, had some foreshadowing almost and connected with these songs in a different way for some reason. Because I listened to it again today. Oh, this record was written for my current moment. I'm
now,
right
where
this
you are
minute.
now.
Yes.
Isn't that wild?
Right this minute,
You
record.
connected with it that long ago in a different way.
Yeah.
And now it's hitting you more than it did then.
It's hitting me way more because she's saying all the shit that's in my head, right? You mentioned a handful of songs.
The song titles alone are really important. They hit you, punch you right in the gut. Yeah. I love when a song title's good.
I mean, yeah, I was listening again today, and Extraordinary Love. I want to feel extraordinary love, right? That is how I feel right now, and I'm at a place where I'm like, I've learned pretty clearly what I want. I know what I'm not going to put up with. I know what I'm going to expect. I know what I'm going to give.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling.
It is a great feeling.
Letting go, that's the part that I've just recently done in a big way this week, right? So that same house, that sale's done. I'm no longer attached to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a completely different person.
End of an era.
Yes.
Yep.
Letting go. Be good to yourself.
Good song.
Buddy.
That's a great song.
I was listening to it again today, and I was like, hey, that's me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Well, I'm not good to myself all the time either.
Yeah.
I think that's why it resonated with me is because you know, but maybe not everybody knows. I beat myself up a lot mentally. I'm constantly talking down to myself. It's something I'm constantly working on.
You got to. And it's especially hard, like in the moment that I'm in right now, it was especially hard for a long time. It's not easy, but I mean, there's a lightness to the way I feel at the moment that when I re-listened to Be Good to Yourself, I was like, oh God, yeah. Last night, I went and it was all domestic. I went to Target, and I haven't been able to do this shit for like a year. Like I just haven't been able to just go fucking walk around and spend $50 at Target, right? I've just been in my head too much, and like I just kind of have this. I'm out of my routine, and so yesterday I was like, I need a shower curtain liner, and I need a new pot, and I need like there's these
the essentials.
Yeah, there's all these things, these domestic things that I've been putting off in my new place, and I came home, cooked myself some dinner. I had exercised that morning. I had this wonderful day at work, and when I listened to Be Good to Yourself, Good to Be Alone, today.
That's another good one.
I was like, wow, that's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Like it feels good. I had really struggled with being alone after 10 years with somebody, right?
Sure.
And then jumping into another relationship right away.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into. But this record to me connected in a completely different way now than it did then. But I think the thing that I connected with back then, consciously at least, was just that she doesn't sound like anybody else. And it's just, there's nobody like her. And I did kind of fanboy out when I met her because and then watching her, if you've ever seen her live, folks, like if she comes near your town, if the Heartless Bastards come near your town, go see her live.
Was it solo?
Yeah, it was her and a guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, and
she
opened for the Drive-By Truckers, my favorite band.
Yeah, that was another thing I think too that I remember pondering on.
It was at the Plaza right down the street.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But that was while I was listening, I was like, I wonder what these songs sound like acoustic.
Oh, they're incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it takes nothing away from the production because the production's well done. It's just it was just like, all right, I got the point. I got the meat of the song. Mm-hmm. We're at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Let's get to the next one now.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I think as an artist, that's something that I'm very cognizant. I'm very mindful of myself because I'm like, got to figure out structurally how to make the song work.
Well, I do wonder if you and I have a little different tolerance for jammy kind of stuff or longer kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I think we do.
Probably. Like I love Dave Matthews Band, but I would pick a recorded album over a live album any day. Yeah. Not that I don't, there are a handful of live Dave tracks that I love.
Sure.
But if I'm going to a Dave concert, I am that guy that wants to hear the hits rather than a 20-minute run of ants marching.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear all of the ones that I really want to hear, and that's selfish of me because they're a jam band.
Yeah.
You know, so that's I think that's a good example. Yes, I do have a level of like, if you're gonna go for it and you're gonna jam, I mean, I have breakdowns in my songs. I just want them to mean something to me. Mm-hmm. Like I want to connect with it. And if it goes on a little long, I get a little bit of like, all right.
That's a fair criticism, especially as I think like as I analyze how much this record means to me right this minute. Mm-hmm. Because as I was listening to it lyrically again today, all those things I just said kept jumping out at me. And now that I'm thinking about it, an acoustic. I love an acoustic re-release of this record. That would be dope.
Erika Wennerstrom. This is us asking you to take these songs and make an acoustic album or EP with these songs because while they're awesome here, especially for my buddy Jason Earle, I think they would sound really good acoustically. Also, please don't hate me. Because I really love your voice.
He was tired when he was.
I was cranky. Don't mind me.
Yeah. This also leads me into
good segue.
It's such a breakup record that it leads me into the conversation about Frank Sinatra's In the Wee Small Hours.
In the Wee Small Hours.
Which is not what I expected you to bring me.
That's a great way to start that, man.
I mean,
I love it.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the whole fucking point of why we're doing this.
I know.
It's like, how can we stump each other?
Yeah,
like, wow.
Yeah. Because we go back and forth, folks. So, like, you know, we want to make sure that we have a few like queued up, right? And we go back and forth. Have you heard this record?
Have you heard this
record?
Do you know who this is?
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun for us to go back and forth like that, nerd out anyway. And so he had a handful of records that he, was asking me about. I was like, he's not gonna pick Sinatra. Just like I didn't think you were gonna pick Zach Bryan.
Exactly.
So I listened to this record a ton, man, and it's a lot easier for me to listen to in the last couple of days, given what I just said about how much better I'm feeling than it was previously. It's heavy. It's a heavy record. It's a breakup record in a different way. He had this like whirlwind romance, it seems like, with Ava Gardner, and he's like 40 if I'm not mistaken when this record comes out. It comes out in 1955.
It is a later record,
and he's born in like 1915 if I'm not mistaken. So
just throwing Sinatra knowledge.
Well, I did a lot of research. I didn't know shit about Sinatra.
That.
Yeah, I knew a few things. You know, who doesn't know who Frank Sinatra is? But you know, he's middle aged when it comes out. So I think the first thing that hit me was he talks about love and you know, Sinatra's not really a songwriter. These are other people's songs, but he is able to convey the emotion in a way that very few singers can. So again, one of the cool commonalities between these two records, they're both breakup records, and then they're also both very unique vocalists. Sinatra's revered as one of the great popular music vocalists, right, in Western music. And so I had never really dove into Sinatra. I never really spent time with him. I knew the hits. Who doesn't know them? My very first serious relationship, her father was really into Sinatra, so we would listen to him quite a bit. But it was always kind of background, we would be drinking wine and shooting the shit, and then Sinatra would be on. Mm-hmm. And that's how I've always thought of Frank Sinatra. I've always thought of him as just background noise, Mm-hmm. This record ain't background noise. Like, it's very difficult to just sort of put on and cook dinner. Yeah. There's a whole lot going on, and in my research, well, before I get into that, like, one of the things that was cool about it, because it is a contrast from the Zach Bryan record we talked about last week in terms of how he talks about love and how he conveys love, because he does hit love and romance on the level that I'm processing it right now. And so I was able to connect with this record in a much deeper way than I was the Zach Bryan record, because I'm kind of going through the same shit he was going through, mm-hmm. except I'm not, ultra famous. But the same kind of concept is happening. And really what this one hit me, this one feels like the voice of me processing my most recent whirlwind relationship. That's what this feels like. It did not make me really connect or think about my 10-year relationship the way that Sweet Unknown does. It made me think about that intensity, the spike, the crash, the burn, just like how things just went so intensely.
Chaos.
There was chaos. Yeah. And when it was great, it was so great. And when it wasn't, it wasn't. And I think about that because I feel such intense love for that person, and yet I know that we can't be together. And that's what comes through in this record, is this feeling of like this tension, this push and pull of, I love you so much, but also I can't be with you. But wait, I want to be with you, but no, I can't be with you.
But you're bad for me.
You're bad for me. Yeah, there's just so much that hit me.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to have spent time in that world. I'm grateful to have, sat with songs like Glad to Be Unhappy. And there's a line that just really is, and it's not a fancy line, but he says, "Fools rush in, so here I am."
Yep.
That was me in that
what
relationship,
a line.
Right?
What a line,
yeah,
too.
It is a good line. It is a good line. It very much describes what I just went through.
Yeah. Good to be alone.
Yeah.
Glad to be unhappy.
Yeah.
What a connection there.
There's so many connections between these records, man. But I apply them, I think, to different spaces in my life. Sweet Unknown really resonates with me with my 10-year partnership. Whereas In the Wee Small Hours feels very much like the expression of what I just went through, for 5-6 months, and the aftermath of that. And because he's recording this in the aftermath. But the other thing that was fun about listening to this record is you can't really consume Frank Sinatra without diving into Frank Sinatra, the character. And what a fucking character, dude. He won an Academy Award. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor.
He won all of them. I'm pretty sure. Isn't he the only one? No. He's not the last one. There are a few.
Yeah.
He is one. There's a name for that.
EGOT.
Yeah. I believe he is an EGOT.
Okay.
I think so.
The only one that I would
fact check this. We might need to fact check this later.
We need a producer. We need a producer to fact check this. Wait, I'm the producer.
I don't know. I look at Google a lot.
Yeah. I don't know about a Tony, though. That's the only thing I would question, is whether he won a Tony. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. So anyway, another cool thing before I get into Sinatra, the character, that I found interesting was, well, two major things about this record. it's popularly thought of as the first concept record. And I think a reason why I don't consume a lot of Frank Sinatra and a lot of music from that era is because I grew up on albums. Yeah. So I don't really listen to singles. You and I are going to go to Park Ave CDs today, and we're going to pick up our pre-ordered copies of Jason Isbell and the 400 Units Live at the Ryman Volume 2.
Volume 2.
And we're stoked for it. I haven't listened to any of the singles. Not a one. So,
neither did I, not for that.
Yeah, but I usually don't. Now, sometimes with him or somebody I'm crazy about, I'll listen to, if I know the album's coming, I'll listen to the single and one time, and then I wait for the album. Or if it's a friend of mine who's putting out a single, I'm going to listen to the single, right? When you put out a single, I'm going to spend time with the single.
Thanks, man.
But if it's an album that I know is on the way, that I know I'm going to buy a copy of, I don't feel bad about not spending the single. I'll spread the word about it, but I don't feel bad about not, because I'm going to pay money for it, and I'm going to give it a careful listen, and I'm going to spread the word about the whole album. So this era where they were just kind of putting collections of singles together and calling them albums, and they weren't putting a whole lot of thought into what an album's supposed to look like, and they weren't doing the kind of like the work that now everyone does so heavily. It just doesn't resonate with me because I did grow up on albums. Albums were so important to me and continue to be. So the whole work is what I'm interested in. So this, I think I connected with even more because of that. Like musically and stylistically, I connected with it more than I have the Sinatra stuff I've listened to in the past, because it is a full concept of a record. The other thing that was cool about the research on this record, before I get into the character, is that he apparently was just like really intense about making it just right. Like, he wanted this record, and maybe this is how he worked in general, but he was just very intense about every little detail and worked incredibly hard on it. And I guess what I think of when I think of that era is these guys were just like, they were fucking maniacs. Like the Rat Pack, all those guys were partying, and I just can't, it's hard for me to get my head around. Like, if I have, 3 beers, I can't do anything meaningful. It's just, I can have a meaningful conversation. I can have some fun. I can, maybe I'll come up with something every once in a while. But if I'm partying, like I can't party and then do anything of substance. And those guys they were dealing with all kinds of heavy shit too to get into the character. It's amazing to me to hear someone like this sing so tenderly, to convey such intense emotion about someone who was like connected to the mob. And I know that those aren't mutually exclusive things. I understand that. I've seen The Sopranos. I get it, right? You can people compartmentalize things. I understand that, but just the way that my brain works, it's hard for me to compartmentalize in that way. I can compartmentalize work stuff from creative stuff, but I don't think I would be capable of like going out and threatening someone's life and then coming home and making really tender love. I don't think that's just not how I'm wired. And he seemed to be wired that way. And I just think it's wild.
It was a different time.
He's just a wild character. I mean, he's like kind of a known womanizer, but he's clearly in love with this woman. And that's another thing that's kind of crazy. The research says, and I don't know, I wasn't there obviously, and who knows what's going on behind people's closed doors, but supposedly they were just sort of like, there was a lot of infidelity in their relationship, and yet when it's over, he's still feeling these intense feelings. And I think sometimes we compartmentalize that too, where we say like, well, if you aren't faithful, then you didn't truly love the other person, and then that's not necessarily true. And this concept of like this dichotomy of this man is so fascinating, and it comes through in the record. So I'm really grateful that you chose this one. It's one I'll dial up again. It's one I'll probably have, in my life for a while, maybe forever, because I connected with it. I was really impressed by it. I was grateful for the journey that I went on to kind of get to know who this man was a little bit. I want to read the Kitty Kelly's unauthorized biography. It always sat on the shelf at my parents' house, and I was always kind of like, my dad was like, it's a little, you don't need to read that yet. As a kid, I saw it and I was like, I don't want to read that. You don't need to read that yet. But next time I'm at my parents' house, I'm just going to snatch that thing and read it. And I want to learn more, and I want to dive into some of his music more too, and more of his life. It's just a really fascinating thing. His upbringing is fascinating. His dad was like a semi-pro boxer. He was illiterate. He really stressed education, and Frank was a fuck up, so he couldn't get through school.
Yeah.
But he was a fuck up for a lot of different reasons potentially, and the teacher in me goes out. My heart goes out to him. It makes me wonder, like, did he have learning disabilities? Was he dealing with something that wasn't diagnosed, that wasn't dealt with, that could have led to him acting out? Because so often when kids act out, almost always when kids act out, it's because they're missing something, right? The work's too hard or whatever it might be. I mean, I had an instance yesterday. A 15-year teacher. I'm pretty damn good at it. And then sometimes you're an educator, sometimes you walk in and man, it ain't going to work that day. The kids are just in a different headspace.
Not about it.
And they're not about it. And there's not much you can do. And that was my day yesterday. I felt like a rookie. And then today was great,
Yeah.
But what happened yesterday was I upped the rigor. I was challenging them. And so the kids who have the challenges that Frank may have had, and it sounds like his upbringing was pretty tough too, that like we didn't have the language to set them up for success back then. So it makes you wonder what his life would have been like if he had gotten the proper services, or if he had somebody that was a champion for him, or things were different. Things were closer to the way they are now back then. But regardless, really wonderful record, and so much fun, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man, you took a lot. You took a lot more than what I thought. I mean, not that I expected anything less, but like you really did a deep dive into the Frank Sinatra history and backstory on him. I didn't really look at it as a character because I guess I just think Frank Sinatra is Frank Sinatra, and I think because there is a separation in history. Mm-hmm. He lived at a different time that maybe I didn't necessarily look at it that way. So that's a cool concept.
Well, I don't mean like a fictional character.
Sure.
I mean like
the persona.
The persona.
Yeah.
Because clearly this man has these. Maybe he compartmentalized a lot, but what comes out in the record is this lover,
vulnerable,
very vulnerable, sweet,
open wound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the public persona is this brash gangster. Don't fuck with Frank Sinatra.
I'm a charmer.
Yeah,
and I have one hell of a voice.
Yeah, I'm sexy as hell, but I'll also kill you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean,
and then this record is sort of like, I miss you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that it was a fun journey because of that.
That's awesome. That is so cool that was a takeaway for you.
So why'd you choose it?
Well, I was going through, I've been through a handful of breakups in my day, or even just little flings that did not transpire or go any further than what they were. And one time, I don't even remember when it was, I was just a fling ended, a relationship ended, and the next day I typed in Google sad Sinatra because I didn't know like I was in the mood for Frank Sinatra music, or like that style of voice that that just that lovely, like, let me just feel like I'm at it, I'm like sad boy in it on the couch at a Great Gatsby club party. Yeah. So I wrote sad Sinatra, and in the wee small hours popped up, and I went, wait, Sinatra wrote an emo album, or he wrote a heartbreak album? Because you're right. Like, I think there is such a level of like uppity, like we're going to go to a party or we're going to go to a show and we're going to be wowed by the sultry, sexy Frank Sinatra and his voice and the Rat Pack or whatever he would be performing in at that time. Yeah. And so I wanted to feel good and get through the hurt at the same time for me personally. And I'll never forget the first song of In the Wee Small Hours. When I first heard it, I cried like a baby because I was like, I'm finally connecting to an album outside of like what I would have listened to in any other heartbreak situation or breakup situation. And In the Wee Small Hours quickly became my go-to breakup album when I am down in the dumps or I felt lonely and on my own and I'm never going to meet somebody and life is hard and nobody likes me. I'm going to resort to this Frank Sinatra album.
Yeah.
And so I looked for it high and low all over record stores. Anytime I would go to a record store, I would always look in the Frank Sinatra section, and I could never find it. And then I went down to that store down on Mills. Remix. Thank you. I always forget the name of it. Yeah. Remix Records. Down on Mills, right down the street from where we live here in downtown Orlando. And they had that exclusive vinyl where it's a green record.
That's beautiful.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I went home with it immediately because I was like, I've been looking for this album for a long time. And yeah, it is a mouthful in terms of like, you're going to get, you are really diving into these like woe is me feelings of heartbreak and loss and loneliness and things that you don't expect a guy like Frank Sinatra to sing about.
Yeah.
And I think that's what connected me the most to it was like, this was an era, as Taylor Swift likes to put it, or, as people like to coin it, is like your era. It was like, this was Frank Sinatra's sad boy era.
Yeah.
And it was this album. And he really you can tell with what you said about how he did all that, the fine detailing and combing, you can tell in the production of this album that it really meant a lot to him. And you also mentioned like who it was about or who it was for. I didn't know that, but I think as an artist, when it comes to writing about especially a breakup or maybe a love song for somebody that you're no longer in love with or no longer have feelings for, I talk about this a lot, about the idea that those songs are no longer meant for that person. Mm-hmm. And so it's clear that maybe Frank Sinatra wrote those songs for Ava Gardner. But by the time that album came out, it was way beyond that love. Mm-hmm. That it's like, I'm giving this album everything I have because now I see that there's more to it.
Yeah.
There's more to the feeling of emotion. And I think that's the kind of weird thing about being a songwriter too, is when you have something sad to write about, it makes songwriting way easier. It just does. It's like, I have something to write about, and it's like this song might hit you in the gut or it might make you feel like shit, but like it's emotion, it's emotive, and it's powerful, and somebody's gonna take it home and really, really feel something with it.
Yeah.
And so going back again to In the Wee Small Hours, just from start to finish, I thought that was so cool. I didn't know about it being one of the first conceptual albums, concept albums.
It's credited as like the first concept album in Western music.
That is rad as hell. Yeah. I had no idea. I thought it was just more like Frank Sinatra was getting a little older and was trying to find other avenues and ways of trying to write different music and using his heartbreak as the main focus. Yeah. So
I don't know that to be clear, I don't know that he was like, I am going to make a concept record, right?
Sure.
It was just sort of, I have this concept. Critics then went, oh, this is a concept record. This is a whole different thing.
I get that, yeah.
Because I think when I think concept records, I think more like Dude and Juanita by Sturgill Simpson.
Oh, of course.
Or I think like, to me, that the most important, I think for most people, concept record is Willie Nelson's Red-Headed Stranger. But this is definitely around a very clear theme and is intended in a very targeted way, in a way that wasn't really done back then. And again, that's why I think sometimes I struggle with connecting with music from that particular era.
But you know what's funny is now that you mentioned that, I just had a light bulb in my, above me that says, Erika attempted the same thing in this generation, or, in 2018 at this time, especially when she was going through her hardships.
Yeah.
That she is projecting to a specific audience. There is somebody out there who's going to walk away with those songs and feel empowered, feel strong, feel like they can get through the things that they need to get through in the day.
Yeah.
And
somebody's sitting right in front of you.
Yeah. Well, damn.
Yeah.
That's poetry, baby. But you know, like, you know what I mean? That there is a sense of intent with your audience, that it's not so much about the music as it is about the message. And then on the flip side of that, it actually is all about the music, especially to the artist who's making it, because you can also tell that Erika really cared about that project. Mm-hmm. Like, so again, the value of the production is not bad. It was just, you know, for me, it was just I'm cranky, I'm tired, I want to go home.
Yeah.
I very much respect the intent and the character, the power behind the words that she spoke. And I think there, like you said with Frank, that there, especially with this album, there is a sense of like sadness and almost kind of whininess, where it's like, you know, you're really going for it with this one person, when, you know, you've met a lot of women in your life, and you're really giving it all in. And so I think the more we talk about it, the more I realize that, again, I don't know if this album it was just completely for her. Maybe it was at first, and then it became more of, let me do this new thing that maybe nobody else is doing, and I want to be proud in it, so it better be damn good.
Yeah.
So,
well, it is damn good.
Yeah, and it's cool it's cool because I don't think either of us saw these connections happening.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like we set out to go, we're gonna do a breakup.
Episode. Let's have a breakup episode.
Let's have a breakup episode. I want to bum everybody out.
Yeah, and that.
but really, my takeaway is the opposite of bumming out. Like,
right.
To me, my takeaway, I feel very hopeful from these two records,
sure,
and from the connections that were made. It does feel like it was supposed to happen this way.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. I definitely didn't consciously say, here's Erika Wennerstrom's breakup record. I was much more concerned with your thoughts on her, the way she sings, and how you could connect with that, and like as a singer, if you took away lessons, than I was with, you know, the themes. But then I also didn't see coming that I would listen to it again today and go, oh shit, this is like almost linear, almost track by track.
Yeah.
What I've been going through.
Yeah.
And I'm at the good bits now. You know, I'm at a lot of the moving forward bits that she sings about. And that's fun, man.
It is.
It's exciting.
It is fun. And I listened back to in the wee small hours earlier this week. And, you know, I even told Mariah after I listened to it, I was like, this album only really hits when I'm really heartbroken.
Oh, interesting.
It's not that it's not beautiful and isn't. I still love it.
Yeah.
But I think because I created that for myself, where it's like, this is my go-to to help me get through a tough time.
Yeah.
This is my chocolate bar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That when I'm not in that kind of place and I'm visiting that album, I felt different things.
Yeah.
I didn't feel hopelessness. I felt like there was a reminder there of being like, hey man, your life's pretty good right now. You're on a good track.
Yeah.
Keep your head up.
Yeah.
Keep your chin up. Keep looking forward. Quit fucking around. You know, don't quit dilly-dallying, you know? And that's where I kind of took it from it. But I did pick the album because of what you've been through.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to acknowledge, because, you know, that's my olive branch of being like, buddy, I've been there. Or I get it. And maybe this will help get you through what you're going through, because it sure as shit helps me or has helped me in the past. So,
man,
I think that's really special. I think we both picked albums that resonate with us on a personal level, and the overall idea of theme being heartbreak or breakups or whatever that might be. It kind of makes this a very special episode.
It is special.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. How it you know, these last few have been kind of, you know, different. They vary in sound, and these do vary in sound, but there is a connection there that I don't think we either of us really planned on. So Yeah, this was really good, man.
Fun, man.
You have any final takeaways?
I
or
don't.
anything?
I don't have any final takeaways. I just want to say thank you again, and I'm really excited. You know, I do want folks to know that Jordan and I have been. Jordan's has some ideas for some things that we might be getting into.
Hell
and,
yeah!
It's really exciting. Like he brought some ideas to me recently. I was like, yes, yes,
Each one.
yes. Yeah, yes, let's do that. Yes. So,
which one was your favorite? Let's go ahead and say them because I have one that I think is going to be really cool, and I want to know.
My favorite is. You want to go ahead and say it?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm in this phase of my life where I believe the more we say it out loud,
manifest that shit.
That shit.
All right, I'll do it. Us going on tour to record stores and recording in record stores.
Yes, sir. That was it.
That's the one, baby.
That's the one.
Yeah. He was talking about like, y'all, imagine this. Like we can go take a tour, take Life's Greatest Hits on tour, and we could record in record stores, and we could do like
a live show.
We could do a live show in the store, and
like we could pick a record from that store and be like, I choose this record.
Yeah.
Here's why.
We could connect with the record store owners and managers and talk to them about records. We could maybe even connect with musicians in that town, have them come play, and also interview them and talk to them about their records and their collections. I mean, it just sounds like so much fun.
It does, especially now that we're talking about it out loud. I'm getting more and more excited about it. But on top of that, the music industry is just so tough, and it's on so many facets, on so many levels. Music venues are struggling.
Yeah.
And especially local music venues are struggling big time.
Go to the show.
And record stores here and there are struggling because, again, this is a niche hobby, collecting vinyl. You must be a really big music nerd if you do collect any type of vinyls. And like there are plenty of people out there who collect for different reasons.
Right.
And I love that. I think we all have sentimental reasons as to why we collect vinyl or why we collect music from our favorite artists. But what Jason, Earle, and I are trying to do is just connect with others. And so, again, this is a call out to you. If you like that idea, you think we should take some time to hit the road, and you have some record stores in mind that we should go check out, man, tell us what they are. Yes. We could really use all the help we can get in terms of what you want to hear. Yep. Because the fact of the matter is, Jason and I could talk about what we're talking about with or without a microphone.
True.
We're just being flat out honest, this is kind of how our conversations go sometimes. We just talk music, and we talk about
us talking about relationships and life.
Oh, of course.
Existence.
Because again, like music is life.
Yeah.
But you are the listener, and we want to make sure, you as the listener, you are getting what you want out of this. So if there's something you have in mind, I said this in the last episode, so I'm going to keep saying it. And you're listening all the way to the end here. First of all, thank you. That's so cool. Second of all, like give us some ideas, hit us with some things that, you want to hear about. Maybe you want to share a record with us. I mean, we have some pretty big record collections. If you were sitting here next to us, you would see right behind us that Jason has quite the record collection, as do I.
And growing.
But that doesn't mean that we know everything. It doesn't mean that we have all types of music. If you have something that you want to give us a record, we want to be able to branch out and do different things. Not that this isn't fun, because I love this concept and this is something we're going to continue doing. But we both believe that there's so much more we can do with this, and we want to connect with the vinyl collector.
Yep.
Those who are listening to vinyl, why you listen to vinyl, why do you listen to CDs? How are you connecting with your favorite acts? Those are really important factors to us, and pretty much that's the reason why we started this in the first place.
100% it is. Man, this has been a blast as always. Life's Greatest Hits on Instagram, y'all. Make sure that you follow us there.
And on Twitter.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter.
Is that what it's called? Still Twitter?
It is in my world.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I just see a big old X, and I'm like...
Yeah, it's technically called X, but Fuck that. It's
Get on them Twitters.
Yeah, we're on Twitter at LGH Pod on Twitter.
I dig it.
So you can find us there. You can email us, lifesgreatesthits@gmail.com.
Follow the Instagram too.
Is that our email address?
Is that our email address?
I have to edit this.
That's okay. Just,
email us at lifesgreatesthitspodcast@gmail.com.
And follow on Instagram.
I promise
too.
we'll get it.
Yeah, on Instagram I like to post like songs of the week that music that I'm listening to, and so does Jason. He'll share some stuff every once in a while. So that we are appreciators of music, and we hope you are too. And
don't forget to follow our individual stuff as well. So make sure you follow Jordan Foley in the Wheelhouse on all the socials. Make sure you follow the Marinade at Marinade Podcast on all of the socials as well. We're everywhere. Marinade's everywhere except for Facebook. Jordan's everywhere.
You have to be. That doesn't mean I want to be. I have to be. You gotta when you have a name with music behind it, you gotta push it. You gotta be ever present.
Well, I'm grateful that you're ever present with me right now.
And I appreciate your support, man. I appreciate everybody's support. We're both in a phase, in a sense of we're trying to we want to make this a thing.
We do.
So, we're confident about what we're doing, and we hope you are enjoying it. The feedback is always welcome, so hit us up, let us know what you think. And we love you all and hope you're staying safe out there.
Yep. Thank you for sharing your life's greatest hits with us. We'll see you next time.